Marvel Rivals, the game that's had everyone, including me, in a chokehold the past couple months. And I finally made it to Grand Master. And to celebrate that, Marvel Rivals tier lists, a very controversial topic. When it comes to ranking the heroes in Marvel Rivals, there's going to be two separate lists, one for low elo and one for high elo. Starting off first here with Adam Warlock. Adam Warlock for low elo, I'm just going to go out and say it, trash. Unless you can understand how to utilize his skill set, he's a really hard healer to play. I think one of the worst ones you can, especially if you're getting first in this game. His team up with Star-Lord's real good, but you know, if you're a new player, there are just so many other healers that you can be using to climb. As for the higher elo, I still don't think he's that good. I mean, he's definitely, if you're skilled with him, you can definitely do a lot. His res can be clutch, but for the most part, he's pretty stinky. And in my opinion, he's a C tier. And I may get some shit for that, but I don't care. This is my tier list. Y'all can make your own. Moving on to Black Panther, definitely one of the most annoying people to deal with. He can just eliminate your backline instantly. Having someone who knows what they're doing with him is essential for him to, you know, be able to be utilized properly. For low elo, I'm going to give him a B. He's definitely really good, but again, he's kind of hard to play. And, you know, if you're a bad Black Panther, you're really not doing anything for your team. As for the high elo, ooh, here we go. This is going to be a good one. I'm putting him up in S. He is so annoying to come across, and he's unkillable if you got a Black Panther that knows exactly what he's doing and he's on your team. On to Black Widow. Definitely needs a buff, I'll say that. She needs a one-shot headshot in order to be good. If you're low elo playing this, you're throwing. I know one person out of the 200 plus games I've played that actually did good on Black Widow. You know, if you can play her, you can play her, but for the most part, she's trash on both high and low elo. All right, moving on to Hulk. Hulk for low elo, I would highly recommend for people to learn how to play Hulk. His playstyle is a little bit hard to pick up. So for the same reason as to why I'm giving Black Panther a B on low elo, I'm giving Hulk B as well, because there are just better tanks that you can play that are going to be more useful unless you really know what you're doing. Most people don't at this elo. As for the high elo, this man's always banned in the higher ranks. I'm putting him up in S tier. He is super good. He's got good team ups with Doctor Strange and Iron Man. So what more can you want? There's a reason why he's always banned. Moving on to Captain America. Captain America is like a mosquito that's supposed to be just attacking the backline, but every single Captain America that I have ran into has been dog shit and garbage. So if you're a low elo player trying to play Captain America, stop right now. He's not trash in high elo. If you have someone who knows how to play Captain America, he can be a little bit of a nuisance in the backline. There are a very few select few that can play him and play him well, but for that reason I'm giving it C. Cloak and Dagger. Cloak and Dagger is my favorite healer in the game, in my opinion. She's so good. Healing output's amazing, and her damage for the cloak side, fantastic, some may say. So low elo, your new player, Cloak and Dagger is definitely S tier. For high elo, still same thing. I'm putting that S tier. A lot of people probably think A, but I think S. Her ult usage is just so good. You heal the field of play in a very wide radius. So for that reason, I'm giving it an S tier. Now moving on to Doctor Strange. He just has the best set, the best mobility, and he does a lot of damage. So for that, need I say more? His portal is great. Super good plays with the portal, especially if you can just swap to him real quick after your team dies, or if you're the first person to die on point and your team's fighting there, you can just swap over to Doctor Strange, portal back in, and then if your team starts to die and trickle after, they're able to use your portal, and you guys are all kind of in a team fight. S tier for high play too. He's just so good, so overpowered, amazing. Groot is my main. He's the person I put the most amount of time in. For low elo, I'm giving it an S. He is one of the easiest tanks to play. Super good, but you got to learn how to utilize his walls properly, because the walls can definitely screw you and your teammates over if you're not doing it properly. So for low elo, like I said, I solo climbed all the way to Grandmaster playing Groot. For high elo, I'm giving him an A. It sucks because he's my main. I want to put him in S, but definitely not the best when it comes to some of the counters like Wolverine or even Winter Soldier. You get just yanked and pulled in all the time, and it's super annoying having to deal with that. So for that reason, he gets an A tier. All right, now moving on to Hawkeye. Hawkeye used to be S tier, but ever since they kind of nerfed him a bit, hasn't been quite the same. You don't really see him too much anymore, but you know, if you still get Hawkeye hitting your headshots, you know, still solid A tier for both high and low elo. All right, now moving on to Hela. Hela hit scan, does a lot of damage. Even with her nerf, she still does tons and tons of damage. So she used to be S. I think she's still really, really good. Don't really see her as much anymore. I think there are better characters that you can go, but she's always super reliable. For that reason, I'm putting her in A as well. Same with Hawkeye. They were S tier before, but now I think they're solid A's for both low and high elo. Team ups with Thor, gets to rest Thor and Loki. That's super broken if you got a really good Hela on your team. You can definitely argue that Hela belongs in S tier for both. But in my opinion, I think she's A, high A, I'd say. Now moving on to Iron Fist. So Iron Fist is a noob stomper. Stomps the noobs. They don't know what to do. And for that reason, Iron Fist is getting an A tier for the lower elo. But, you know, once you climb up to higher elo, Iron Fist is a little bit easier to deal with as you just go anti-dive, kind of like with any dive, and he doesn't have quite the speed as Black Panther has. So for that reason, I'm putting him at a B. Iron Man. Iron Man melts, all right? He's so good, especially with his gamma radiation upgrade with Hulk. Any hit scan, you're out of the sky. A Namor targets you out of the sky. So you got to be really, really careful when you're picking Iron Man. You don't really want to throw your games by constantly getting picked by a hit scan. For that reason, low elo, I'm putting him in an A. Again, really, really good still. Does a lot of damage, super easy to play. And for high elo, I'm going to put him at a B because high elo always is getting kind of banned with Hulk. So you rarely even see him too much unless, you know, a Hulk gets by. I have carried a few games playing Iron Man, and he is super good once you have that team up. But again, it's higher elo players are just play better all around, so they snipe you out of the air a lot easier. Now we're moving on to Jeff the Land Shark, the absolute cutest hero you can play. But cuteness aside, for low elo, he is a solid B. His ult's really good. You can save the team. You can kill the enemy team, jump off the edge. Healing output's nice. Got a nice speed boost. But for high elo, I'm going to have to put him at C. He just doesn't have a really good ult like some of the other healers do. And his healing output is, again, not that great. It's good. I think it's better than Adam Warlock's, but yeah, she doesn't really provide too much for the team when it comes to that higher elo. So moving on to Loki. Loki is definitely a slept on healer. He's a little bit harder to master because his ult, you can pretty much transform into any player in the game. He requires a lot of game sense to play, but once you play the game multiple times, he becomes obviously easier. So for that reason, for low, I'm going to put him at C just because he is hard to play. And if you're a new player, you're really not going to understand too much how to utilize his kit. For high elo players, I don't know if I should put him in B or A. It's either high B or low A. I'm going to put him in B for now because the triple healer meta is so broken. And if you have a good Loki, you can just either transform into your Cloak and Dagger or your Luna Snow, and you get, more healer ults, which is the best thing when you're climbing into high elo. You got to pop ults. And if you constantly have healer ults, like, it's pretty annoying, and you find yourself winning a lot of games. So Luna Snow, need I say more? S tier for both. Healing output insane, damage insane. All right, on to the next one. Magic, a slower dive character, but does a ton of damage. She stomps noobs and she stomps higher players if she has a supporting dive comp and healers that are paying attention to her. For that reason, I'm putting her in A for both. Definitely better than Iron Fist, does more damage, not as fast, but her teleport's pretty good. Her ult's really, really strong. She can't pretty much die in it, just life stealing the hell out of everyone. So on to Magneto. And here's where we're going to get a little bit controversial. Lower elo, yes. I mean, Magneto's a good tank. People love Magneto. Lower elo, I'm going to give him a solid A. It's got a good set, does good damage, counters Cloak and Dagger, good solo tank, in the game, has a lot of output that can do, his bubbles can save the teams. But for high elo, I am actually going to be putting him at a B. As a group main, he's not very mobile, so he gets caught in the front line and can't really retreat too much once he pops all of his shields. I don't know, I just think there's better tanks in the game like Groot, Strange, Hulk. So B tier for me. All right, moving on to Mantis. Mantis used to be super good. Kind of not a fan whenever I see a Mantis on my team. I kind of like cringe. I'm like, bro, just swap to a more useful healer. She does a lot of damage. She's good if you can tap heads, but if you can't and you're a low elo player, you're gonna have to put her in the B tier. But if you're a high elo player and you can, still gonna have to put her in the B tier. She's just not my cup of tea. Don't really like her. I think she's super easy to pick off, and her heal output isn't that good. Okay, moving on to Moon Knight. For low elo and high elo, just dishes damage, tank melter, ult OP, one of the best in the game. You combo it with the Groot ult and boom, goes through all the healing ults the enemy team has. It's just so good. He's just so good. For that reason, he gets an S tier for low and an S tier for high. Good Moon Knights are very annoying and kind of hard to counter. You need like a Psylocke or someone to dive him essentially to catch him off guard and melt him down. So moving on to Namor. This is my main for DPS whenever I play DPS. He is so good. Dishes so much damage. His team up with Luna Snow is amazing. And if you're a low elo player looking to play someone in the DPS category and looking to climb, Namor is your guy. And for that reason, he is an S tier in the low elo. As for the high tier, I think A is solid. All around kit, just real good. All right, moving on to Penny Parker, my second main. And as for a low elo player, not a lot of people really know how to utilize her kit properly, which makes her a little bit harder to use, but she still does a lot of damage, and the fact that she can root someone every 3 seconds is just insanity. But if you're a low elo player, I'm giving her a solid B. She's a good tank, just got to learn how to use her properly. Very mobile, can zip around the map super quick. And if you're a high elo player, people shit on Penny Parker, and I'm through with the Penny Parker slander. All right, she's not S, but she's definitely A. Most definitely an A tier tank, both on attack and defense. She can just set up and control a zone of the map by herself and essentially 1v1 anybody in the game with her roots. If you hit her roots, she's unstoppable. She can cancel a Doctor Strange ult, which is super broken in my opinion. Doctor Strange is one of the most played tanks, and if you're able to prevent the Doctor Strange from ulting the entire game, you're gonna win. You know, it's just gonna be a dub. And for that reason, she's definitely A tier. On to Psylocke, one of the harder DPS to play, one of the cooler ones. And if you're not good with her, you're gonna stink. And if you're a new player, you're gonna suck with her. So for that reason, I'm gonna give her a C because she's just harder to play. Ult's really good. Got to zip and sneak around the map. Again, super good. But if you're a newer player, you're gonna be sucking it a little bit too much. So she's kind of hard to play again, like I said. But if you're a higher tier player, she's a solid A tier. Super good. Ult is crazy. Can absolutely just melt any healer in the backline, any squishy DPS. And you can even like melt a tank with the ult, to be honest with you. It's super good. Moving on to Punisher. Punisher, Rocket Raccoon team up. The best DPS support team up in the game. Infinite ammo, insanity, broken, and super easy to use. So Punisher gets an A tier for the low end and gets an A tier for the high end. Not quite an S tier. Unless you're a God tier Punisher, then yes, I'll give it an S, because there's been so many games where a Punisher and a Rocket have just absolutely dominated the entire game. Just infinite ammo, brokenness. In fact, actually, I changed my mind. Punisher's S tier for high elo. Now on to the most controversial take, the most controversial healer. People shit all over Rocket, and I can see why. His ultimate healing ult doesn't really provide anything other than damage. Doesn't heal you, doesn't keep the team up. And for that reason, for low elo, he gets a C tier. Super good, can stay alive. Healing's not the best, but if you get a good Rocket that knows what he's doing, especially in the high elo, he can crank up those heals and be providing, tons of usefulness offensively, not defensively, but offensively. And for that, I'm going to give him a B tier. Scarlet Witch for the low elo, you can climb with her. She's super easy to play. She's like a Moira giving the sucky to everyone around her, and they just buffed her, so you can climb with her. You can climb with her pretty fast. Damage isn't the best still, even though they still buffed her. Ult, kind of stinky dookie, but if you get a good Strange or a good Jeff or someone to combo your ult with, just because of the ult casting time is so long, you can climb up the ranks decently high with Scarlet Witch. I don't think you'll get anything higher than Plat, though, if I'm being honest with you. So for that reason, I'm giving her a B. And for high elo, She is just trash. Like, you don't see her ever. And if you do, it's kind of a free game. Moving on to Spider-Man. This is a character that why we have a high and low elo, because of that low elo, he is stinky. He is stinky. No one knows how to play him. C. But at high elo, my goodness, you get a good Spider-Man, that dude is unkillable, kind of like a Black Panther, but not as annoying, I think, because he can only really kill one person at a time aside from his ult, where Black Panther can just completely eviscerate the backline by just zipping and dopping and smacking kids with his mark to target thing. So for that reason, I'm going to give him an A tier, assuming you have a good Spider-Man. Actually, I changed my mind. I'm going B, because I'm thinking of how many times I've gotten a Spider-Man on my team. Like, he's just not that good. Unless you get someone who's pulling people off the map and comboing themselves properly. Most of the time, most Spider-Man players aren't that good. I'll be honest with you. I'll go out and say it right here. They always want to ban Namor, and then you ban a Namor, wasting one of the 2 bans you have, that just for your Spider-Man to be dog shit. Like, I hate it. B tier. Moving on to Squirrel Girl. Her buff of her ult recently was absolutely insanity. So good on both low and high. But for low, you can really, really go far with Squirrel Girl. You don't even need aim. You just throw your nuts at payload, at the domination point, and you climb. You climb so far. Giving her an A. At higher elo, still real good, but not as useful to the team. So for that reason, I'm giving her a B. Star-Lord. Super good, high damage, ult's amazing. Legendary. It's like a Soldier 76 ult from Overwatch, but you're flying around, zipping through the sky, melting all the squishies in the back line. Really easy to use. Can combo him real well. And for that, we're going to give him a solid A. And for high elo, I think he sits around the same kind of area. He's, nothing much changes about his kit when you go to higher elo. So again, I'm going to give him an A tier. Moving on to Storm, the big buff of the season. She's so good and so easy to play, if I'm being honest with you. She's not hard at all. If you're good at Iron Man, you'll be good at Storm. Her basics go through people, collateralizing them, doing damage to both, whatever targets you hit. And it goes through shield. It goes through Doctor Strange shield. Like, it's so good. She's her ult's broken, to be honest with you. You have a Loki and a Storm on the team, you're winning the game. So for that reason, she's going to S tier for both. Moving on to Thor. Thor is a melee tank in the game. Super slept on, in my opinion. Does a lot of damage. 1v1 pretty much anybody in this game. Good anti-dive character because he just dives him straight back. Again, he's a little bit harder to pick up. So for that reason, I'm going to be putting him at a B tier for low elo. And for high elo, I'm giving him an A. Venom. Kit's not super resourceful. He's really good with the dive comp, but again, there are other better tanks in the game. This is a very specific pick, around a very specific team, and you don't really get a team like that very often. So for that, I'm going to give him a C tier. I know, sorry, Venom players, you might not feel like you're getting your justice right now. He can stay alive, stay on point, good contester. But for low elo, C tier I think is fair. And for high elo, I'm going to give him a C as well. Now we're getting into Bucky, Winter Soldier. Great kit, anti-Groot, anti-tank man. Just pulls him in, smacks him up, binks him in the head. They're dead. He's getting an S tier. Pretty busted, high and low. Wolverine, Mr. McBusted, the Tickle Monster, anti-tank man. Harder to use, low elo, gets a B. Second you start to know how to utilize his moveset properly, one of the best DPS in the game. There's a reason why he's being banned in every single game. S tier. Mr. Fantastic. Stretchy man. Mr. How big do you want it? Pretty much a DPS tank. Does a good amount of damage. You can climb with him. Definitely low elo to high elo. You can climb with Mr. Fantastic. Probably all the way to Diamond, high key. Like, he's that good. It's just he can get countered by anyone ranged, essentially. So, because he can only reach out his hand so far. But so for that reason, low elo, I'm putting him in a B. And for high elo, I think he becomes a little bit worse, but not significantly worse. Still at a solid B. We got the Invisible Woman. Super easy, does a lot of damage, does a lot of heals, really good ult. And for that, I'm putting her an A for low elo. I'm also putting her an A for a high elo because, again, it's real good, not quite an S. You're not going to see her get banned ever, but does a lot of good for the team. Has a really good ult. Healer ults are the way to climb in high elo. But yeah, so there you have it. That's my list. Let me know if you guys agree with it. What do you disagree with? comment below. Let me know. And thank you so much for watching. We finally hit Grandmaster this season. I'll be going live soon, on the way to Celestial. Let's do it, boys. If you guys enjoyed it, drop a like, a sub, all that good stuff, and I'll see you guys in the next stream or video, or maybe never again. Who knows? Adios. See ya. Goodbye. Later.